The great thing about football is it provides us with some of the best Cinderella stories. Some come to mind, like Liverpool making that amazing comeback, Glasgow Celtic 1967, first British team to win the European Cup, as it was called at that time. So, go Celtic.
It's amazing because you were totally not alive when it happened.
I know, but I still remember the
highlights.
Yeah, I watched the highlights from it. I mean, yeah, you watch enough to the point that it's that big of a deal that you have to hold on to it. And Rangers fans hate it when I reference it. But we won the Champions League.
But
was it called the Champions League? But it was still the Champions League. We won it in 1967. That's all that matters. But the one big one, Swansea. Now, this is one that many people overlook. So close to basically being disregarded as a club. Thrown in the trash can, hands wiped clean, doesn't matter. Then I think it was 9 or 10 carpenters, plumbers, welders, who were all fans of the club, pitched in 50,000 each. At that time, it was a huge amount of money for these guys who weren't exactly millionaires or anything like that. Came together, revived the club, just finished 8th in the Premier League. Did the double over Manchester United and Arsenal. Really good team. I'm a big fan of them, despite when they take key from Celtic for
£5 million.
£5 million we got from it. But they're an amazing club, and they're a club that we had the privilege of interviewing filmmaker who was part of the process in documenting this amazing story, and one of the directors, Martin Morgan, who was one of the first investors and now is definitely enjoying the fruits of the wealth from it. I mean, and fair play to him. It was an amazing story. But most importantly, Squarespace.
Squarespace.
That's most important.
It's very true.
Yeah, it is. And they are another company that we have to advocate here because they sent us to New York. And if you want to make sure to check out Squarespace, start your free trial, squarespace.com/TYT, and get 10% off your first purchase. Squarespace, build it beautiful. So let's take a look at what we did with the guys at Swansea, and we talked to them about their movie, Jack to a King. We are here, and of course, look at the view. Look at the guys' view here. We're joined by the fellas from Swansea, Martin and Mal. Thanks for joining us. It's been a pleasure. We caught a glimpse of the movie last night. We tipped it to our fans as being the one to see at the Kicking and Screaming Festival. I think it's great, and I guess what I just want to find out straight away is the name, Jack to a King, and how that name came about.
The nickname for Swansea City fans is Jacks.
Yeah.
So we're trying to find a way of encapsulating this journey really from the lowest league of all and nearly going out of business to really the top table, isn't it? If you're in the Premier League, you are at the top table. Now, Martin had a problem with it, if I'm honest, because he thought it was a bit presumptuous.
Yeah.
And so I got my deck of cards out and I went, well, look, there's a Jack there. The Jack to a King is good. We're not saying we're the aces. We're not the 4 Champions League places. Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. So Jack to a King, it just shows this journey over 10 years, and it has been an amazing journey.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us, Martin? You were telling me a little bit off camera. How did you guys, a bunch of everyday workers, right? You said you were a welder, was it, or welders, carpenters, pipe welder? How did you guys come together to help save a club that is now one of the most respected clubs in the Premier League in Swansea?
We were all, or the majority of us were friends as 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds. We went to the football together, we went to the away games together, and we used to go everywhere. And it got to the stage where our club was going to die, and maybe totally die. And it was, you know, if you've got a football club, it's a bit like the family. You love it, and it was like, if we don't do something about this, we're going to die. And it was the general belief: could we get 10 people to put £50,000 in each, which some of the guys really couldn't afford at that time, and could 10 people work as a team together? Well, we didn't really have the skills, any of the knowledge, and we just picked up little bits and learnt, and thankfully we saved the club, and thankfully the dream is still alive, and I haven't woke up in Times Square overlooking this fantastic site. Yeah.
What our fans as well obviously are going to be interested in is one of the main people behind that resurgence forward was Brendan Rodgers, the manager at that point, and I'm a big fan of him and his style of play and the way that he acts as a manager. I guess just what do you think that being a manager of Swansea did for him in terms of what pushed him forward in his career into where he is right now?
Well, Brendan Rodgers had been out of work for 6 months before he got the gig, which is interesting, isn't it? You know, you see him now in this great manager, but out of work for 6 months, and Swansea gave him a break.
Yeah. I think you have to look at it, and I think it's many managers really have done it. I think because we had Brian Flynn, so Brian Flynn brought in Roberto Martinez, brought in Alan Tate, brought in Leon Britton. Roberto Martinez had a Spanish way of trying to play football. Didn't mind if the players were short, small. They had to run quite a lot, do a lot of movement, keep the ball ticky-tacky, and that was good. And then we brought in Paulo Sousa, who made us defensively much better. A bit more boring, but certainly helped us in that progression. And then Brendan came along with a philosophy of similar really to Roberto. But we managed to bring in Scott Sinclair, which he knew from Chelsea, which was the top goal scorer in the championship that year, so that was massive. And Brendan, you can't help but like Brendan. You cannot help but like Brendan. He is such a likeable guy. You know, I'm sitting there in my house in Swansea, and Liverpool are playing Everton in one of the biggest derbies in the world. And the two managers have managed the Swans and really made their career from the Swans. And that, again, is you've got to pinch yourself that they're not there.
What's this basically the secret recipe that you guys think to competing at that level? Because we were talking there, you guys did a double over Arsenal and Manchester United in the season, something that's just, you would, if someone told you years ago when you were close to getting relegated, you'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? What is this? You know what I mean? So what do you guys think is the secret recipe to that for Swansea?
Maybe you ought to go there first one, I guess.
I think the secret recipe is we have turned around and we're prepared to keep the ball for long periods of time. Yeah. And if we keep the ball, you've got an amount of frustration, but you have to have players who have the ability to keep the ball. Yeah. You have to be as fit as any other team, and it's having that belief. And I believe when we play, we have a belief that we can cope with them. Yeah.
So I think the secret is that these guys now believe in themselves. Yeah. And it's really hard, you know, if you're going up against, in the first game, Brendan Rodgers said to the lads at halftime, all right, you've worked out whose shirt you're going to get at the end of the game, now let's play football. Yeah. And I think now actually that confidence comes through. You know, these guys, they've learned their trade from the bottom divisions up, and they have the confidence in themselves to say, if you come to our club, this is how you play. Yeah. And that's an amazing place to be for a bunch of guys who would never run a football club before.
Yeah.
Or again.
So, I mean, why don't we touch on a little bit? So we're here, obviously, as we said, for the Kicking and Screaming Festival, and you guys are talking to a lot of clubs that maybe are asking the same questions as I am from a club standpoint. Like there's the New York Cosmos who are in a different division to the MLS, and they're trying to compete. What is your stance, I guess, just from the overall standpoint? What is your stance on American football, like American soccer, and how you have viewed that before to maybe how you viewed it now, and views that maybe how the game here could maybe progress further?
I worry because, to me, if you don't have a relegation system, I just can't see, and as America, where it's all about dreams, how do you give, say, the Cosmos the chance of getting back into that league now? How do you create this without it coming? We've created a dream that you can do it. And to me, if I think of one thing of America, I think it's the place where dreams can happen, and dreams have happened. And you don't allow that. And I understand you have very rich individuals with that, but you don't allow, say, the local fans from Atlanta to create this team that comes forward, or from one of the maybe smaller areas to come through. And I think that then in the end becomes a bit, well, you don't get relegated. So what is the pain? What is the reward? You know, whereas we have, we know if we get relegated, we'll lose something like 70% of our revenue. So then all our players' contracts have to be designed in that way, that they take a 70% or 50% reduction in their salary for the first year to take that. And that has to be built in, because we, as individuals, can't afford to fund that. Yeah. If you're a billionaire, you might. But to me, with the American system, I think I think that's an issue. You
guys have faced the problems with competing against teams with a lot more money, basically. We get Manchester City, who've just been taken over. Chelsea, of course, under Roman Abramovich's reign. So maybe the teams that are in a lower division, what do you think they have to do to try and help move up? Not as much in a team standpoint, but in terms of building a franchise that can compete. Do you have any sort of secrets or messages for them? Because a club like Swansea had basically no right to be in the Premier League with that. So despite having a few wonder guys who are going to put some money together, what else do you think goes into making a club well-rounded enough to compete at that level?
Well, from the film point of view, it actually they found something. They found something special. We call it the Lennon and McCartney moment, where Hugh Jenkins brings in Roberto Martinez, and the world changes because you can't compete financially. So you have to do something different, because otherwise, if you keep on doing the same thing and you get the same outcome, you're mad, aren't you? Yeah. So it's that magical moment where they say, we can't compete financially, we can't compete physically, let's do something different. And it's a very brave decision to bring a player who's not even really retired. Roberto Martinez was still playing, convince him to come out of being a player and to become a manager, and then to say, okay, run our football club this way.
I mean, the same with Gary, though, really. If you look at it, Gary's 34, very similar age. I think he's actually 35 now, but a very similar age. And they were both our captains, so you could generally see the leaders, see their attitude. Roberto come along. Roberto does not drink. I don't think he's ever drunk in his life. He doesn't smoke. He's totally Mr. Clean Living. We would lose a game, he would go back, he'd watch that match 3 times, right? It is his life. We brought in a guy who had never made a great living. He'd made a decent living, right? But not a great living at all. A very, more like a League 2 player's wages. And you turn around and say, look, if you get this and you get to the Premier League and you are that manager, the money is millions a year. Do you mean rather than $1 million over your total career of 10 years or whatever the number is? And you knew he had the hunger. You knew we could get us a bit fitter. And I remember going to the first ever training session, and Andy Robinson, so he brought the training session, so it was exactly the same time as the match you're playing the following day. So it's 24 hours. So he trained them for the 2 days at the same time so they could feel the match, get their food appetite right, and get all of that done right. And then we're in training, and he's going, and Trundle hits the ball after 2. He said, no, 7 passes. You do not shoot until 7 passes. Andy Robinson, 1, 2, 3, shoots. And he's absolutely wrecking them. Yeah. He turns around and says, you shoot after 7, we will bore the opposition. They will get frustrated, they will get annoyed, they will lose their positional sense, and then we will shoot because the opening will be there. I don't want you taking long-range shots. It's a team effort. We go to Rotherham on the rearranged match. We turn around, we win 1-0. It's the 7th pass, and we score.
And do you think that's what makes Swansea as a whole? Is the fact that it's involved with everyone?
We're the underdog. We're the second city in Wales. Yeah. Pretty much everything goes through Cardiff. It's there like that. You're the second city, so you have to constantly fight. And I know the way all of the board members feel. We feel we have an obligation to the football team. We have an obligation to fans. We have an obligation to our city, because when you walk along in New York on the streets and the people from all over the world and they go, Swansea City, hey, you had Boney, hey, you done well in the league this year. You're from England. No, from Wales. Where? Yeah. They know the word Swansea more than they know the place Wales.
In 90 minutes you could accomplish what every boy had dreamed about.
Sometimes you forget when you're here that it is a billion people watching.
It was a game that you had to win.
That game, it could have been devastating.
And with first person, he's set off the front row of the Royal Box.
It's 90 seconds, Mark, and we're there.
Not if you know Swansea City. It's written in folklore, isn't it? Forever.
Truly inspiring stuff from Martin and director of the movie. Really awesome movie, Jack Tooking. Make sure to check it out. One of the things that I love about these two guys and the rest of the owners within Swansea's club it's the common man's team. Mm-hmm. It's the idea that me or you are sitting here on a couch and one day, the dream for anybody who can't play in a league right now is to own a team and still be a part of it, be a part of that experience. Like as Martin mentioned, he slides across the grass with the players when they won the championship to go into the Premier League, and then getting dragged by the players with him, just in full suit and tie. He said he just wanted to have his soccer boots on. So I've been looking for a club to support.
This is going to devastate.
I know. The Liverpool faithful are going to hate me. I'm sorry, Anfield. Sorry. Yeah. I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't know what to tell you.
You were just a Balotelli fan.
It wasn't so much Balotelli. I got really inspired by Stevie Gerrard also, but he's not there anymore. So
you're going to support the Galaxy?
No. Come on. Let's be real. Let's keep it real here.
So the big announcement, drum roll.
Swansea City is my club.
Wow. Is that because they gave you a free shirt?
That is partly because I got free swag. I also really like the shirt. That had a lot to do with it. No, but it just feels like a good team to support. Yep. Although I probably will never see them win, because now that they have me as a supporter, we might be facing relegation.
You're gonna bring the Knicks vibe to them?
The Knicks, the Mets, the rest of my cursed history. It's going to get ugly.
All right, well, we want to know what you guys think of this movie. As always, check it out in the description below. What do you think of our interview with these guys? Is Swansea the most successful Cinderella story you know, most inspiring? And as always, thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring our trip to New York. If you want to build your own website, make sure to head over to squarespace.com/TYT. Start a free trial. How can you complain with that? And get 10% off your first purchase. I myself am in the process of building a new website, fashion orientated. You want to check it out?
I want to check it out. Do you know what's also free?
What?
A subscription to TYT Sports.